The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Let's take a look and see every day at this time. OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry. Calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They don't tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They only tell us the number you need to put into your mortgage calculator in order to find out what your principal and interest payment will be. Conventional. These are the numbers that locked on, is this Friday, Josh? On the 3rd of January, Friday. Conventional, 30-year fixed, up 6.90. Jumbo, 30-year fixed, up 7.079. FHA, 30-year fixed, down 6.537. VA, 30-year fixed, up 6.493. USDA, 30-year fixed, up 6.583. That's the rural areas, generally no down payment. If you want our market commentary each and every business morning as early as the data allows, rsrlinks.com/market minute, rsrlinks.com/market minute. Let's take a look and see what the markets are doing today. The S&P 500 is now up 70.71, 70.71. And we're looking at mortgage-backed security. I'm sorry, let's look at the 10-year Treasury right now. That's at 4.61. That is up. And we're looking at the mortgage-backed security, 3 basis points up. Remember, when we look at the mortgage-backed security, that's the bond price. When the bond price goes up, that means the interest rates are going to go down and vice versa. And it's so close. We're waiting a lot. A lot of it's just going to be dependent on what the data comes out. You know, we get technicals that are good when there's no data. But this week we're getting lots and lots of data. And we're going to be talking about that as the week progresses. We got the Treasury is issuing $119 billion in new debt this week, which is a lot of additional Treasury supply. Supply up, prices down, interest up. $39 billion in 10-year notes, $22 billion in 30-year bonds. The level of demand for treasuries at auction can be important for rates. We also, being that this is the start of the new year, there is a rotation of voting members of the Fed. The Fed rotation is upon us. 4 of the regional voting presidents rotate out. 4 new ones rotate in. The way they lean, hawkish or dovish, will be important and will influence how they vote for monetary policy and interest rates. 4 presidents that no longer will be voting. Richmond Fed President Thomas Barkin, he was a hawk. Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic, a hawk. San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly, a hawk. Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammock, a hawk. The new voting presidents, Austin Goolsbee, very, very dovish. He's from Chicago. The Boston Fed President Susan Collins, hawk. St. Louis President Albert Musalem, a hawk. Kansas City Fed President Jeffrey Schmidt, a hawk. So we've got 4 hawks out, 1 dove and 3 hawks in. So we're just getting 1 additional dove is the net change. And again, he's probably the most dovish Fed member and is in favor of cutting rates several times this year. Over the weekend, Fed Governor Adriana Kugler and San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly spoke together. They acknowledged that they know they have not reached their inflation goal and that no one is popping champagne anywhere. But they also were clear that they want the unemployment rate to stay where it is and they do not want to see further slowing, which makes this week's jobs data critical. We got all kinds of jobs data coming out this week. Fed Governor Cook spoke this morning and said that price increases have cooled, but there is more to go on inflation. He also said it's likely appropriate to move to a more neutral stance, but that the Fed can afford to proceed more cautiously with inflation being stickier and the labor market being stronger than previously thought. So let's talk about this. What is going on with these numbers? And we're going to have an extended mortgage minute today because it's all about the mortgages. Where do we see mortgage rates going and why? So we thought the rates would come down last year, and they did for about a week in September. That's why we've been so persistent in asking you, what's your number? rsrlinks.com/what's your number. And why do I ask that? What does that mean? We ask you what's your number because we want to know what it would take to make you happier, what it would be help to benefit in your lifestyle. What would the number be to say in money savings? So we say rsrlinks.com/what's your number. We get your entire file put together based on triggering that number, not an interest rate, because you can't do anything with an interest rate. I've shared before, the highest interest rate loan that we have, that would be the Home Select loan. Highest interest rate, lowest interest expense. So why do you care about the rate if the expense is low? You don't. So I digress. Let's get back to this. You got to know what your number is for this to understand, because in September, like I say, we had a very short window that a lot of people were able to save money, but then rates went back up again. Why? Well, if you think about this, a couple of years ago, when coming out of COVID, we had the government was sending out so much money. People were spending it. What is inflation? Too much money chasing too few goods. The supply just wasn't there. So there was so much money going out after these goods, prices went up. Well, the Federal Reserve got it all wrong. And I've shared this with you, no matter how many people want to fight with me over it. I still say it. I will continue to say it. The Federal Reserve really got it all.
Such an idiot.
Yes.
Such an idiot.
They said inflation is transitory. What does transitory mean? Well, it means that they thought that the inflation was going to be short-term and reverse itself right away. Well, it wasn't transitory. It continued to grow. And we got all the way up to, I think, like 9 or 10% inflation. Well, what does the Federal Reserve have to do? They thought it was transitory, so they did nothing. At that time, they should have increased interest rates a little bit, so they didn't have to increase interest rates down the road a lot. Well, being that they did nothing, the interest rates, the inflation kept going up, and we kept seeing higher prices. You probably felt that at the grocery store. You felt that anywhere you go on things that are necessities. We had to keep buying more. So we look and say, okay, retail sales are up, but are they really? Or is it just that the money we're spending for the goods is up and we can't buy as much as we need? Yeah, people are struggling. But in the meantime, we didn't get the increase in unemployment because the Bureau of Labor Statistics was giving us bad data. Not my opinion. That's been numbers that have been proven by what they've come out and said since then. In all of their revisions, the revisions have shown that the data that they were giving us wasn't good data. Was it manipulated? I don't know. Or was their methodology bad? Who knows? The bottom line is they kept telling us that employment was strong. You and I both know different, but we're still seeing unemployment at a healthy number. And thus, the Federal Reserve had to start increasing interest rates dramatically. And if you heard people say, date the house, date the rate and buy the mortgage, or date the whatever the dumb thing was, they were basically saying you can buy the house or marry the house and date the rate. Buy the house, and down the road you'll worry about lowering the interest rate. How'd that work out for you? Well, there's a lot of people with very high interest rates right now, and they might be struggling, but they did get some good appreciation. And Chapman University last month said they anticipate property values might decline a little bit in Southern California this year. I don't know how, because we still don't have enough supply, but they didn't have a question and answer period that I could get that into. So that was the issue right there. So we still have high interest rates. When will interest rates come down? Well, when we start seeing the inflation moderate, which it has, but the Federal Reserve's got this arbitrary idea that they want to have their PCE inflation, the personal consumption expenditure, at 2%. Well, if you just take out a couple of numbers, It's way below 2%, but they're looking at the overall number. So they're saying we haven't got there yet. They also want to make sure we maximize employment. Well, until they start seeing that people are hurting through the data, which the Federal Reserve is even realizing that the Bureau of Labor Statistics data is not all that reliable. And how do we know that? Well, in their commentary, they said they're using the Beige Book. What is the Beige Book? That's when the 12 different districts of the Federal Reserve go out and talk to people in their areas and see, what are you seeing? Are you hiring or not hiring? Are there more jobs or not more jobs? Well, when they look at that, they see that the labor market is not nearly as strong as what the Bureau of Labor Statistics says it is. So the bottom line here is that until they see that the labor market is not strong and inflation comes down, they're not going to really lower interest rates. And in many instances, like they did in December, they lowered the interest rate, but mortgage rates went up. Not a good sign for us. We want to see mortgage rates go down. And once that happens, then what's going to be the case is we're going to get a lot of people coming back into the market to start buying again. And that's going to be a lot of what we talk about today, especially if you're a young family.